Allen. Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline. Fade away. Yes. He's way too good. He steps around Lou and drilled it. And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. 7 straight points by Iverson. Looked like he was dead to win. The Sixers by 4.
And welcome to the Sports Go Radio Show presented by the Heat Ratio Sports Network. We're happy to have everybody joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning, the 16th day of May 2021. Please join in the conversation by posting your comments. We always love to have you comment. If you're not obviously inclined to do so, please post any and all comments they have regarding any of the topics we have or any of the topics that we don't talk about. We'll be sure to get to all the comments. I am Jeff, and I am joined by Michael Nibia, the coach Shane McGowan, Alex Sektia, and of course my brother Jay Selner. And of course, we want you to, of course, follow Shane McGowan always on Twitter and Instagram. And please, always remember to give Shane give Shane a follow on these various social media channels, so you can keep up with all his events that he has going on. We have a great show lined up for you. Also, we want to mention to check out sportscoradio.com for all our podcasts on Spotify, and also check out all our sports blogs on our website as well. And don't forget to leave all your rants and opinions on anchor.fm. We have a great show for you lined up today. We'll get into all the Major League Baseball. We'll get into the NBA playoffs, which are set to begin. The NHL playoffs are already ongoing. We have, obviously, the second leg of the Triple Crown. The Preakness took place yesterday. Sorry, there will be no Triple Crown winner this year. But, there was obviously a lot of controversy surrounding, Medina Spirit going into this race. But, again, Medina Spirit did not win. So that's not going to be a conversation going forward. But we'll get into, obviously, the horse racing and all that. But we're going to begin the show with what the NFL presented this week, which is the schedule release and all the big games that are going to be coming up in the NFL this year. And Jay, some people were fairly optimistic about the Eagles being able to come out this year and put up a pretty good record this year based on their schedule.
I am not. I'm telling you that right now. I am definitely not one of those people, because they took, in my opinion, the teams from last year and looked at the record from last year and did not factor in the fact that some of the teams that are on the Eagles schedule have gotten better. Some of the teams on the Eagles schedule are getting players back, which will make those teams better. Some teams slogged through just a awful season due to injury and so forth. And I look at the Eagles schedule, and I'm not taking any game for granted on the Eagles schedule right now. I think they're going to struggle to be I'll be honest with you. I think they're going to struggle to be a 500 team. Now, the one caveat with all that is we don't know how good of a quarterback Jalen Hurts is going to be. We don't know how well Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff will adapt to game situations, how well he's going to be able to call a game, how well the Eagles are going to be prepped and have practice for the different games that are going to be on their schedule. But, I look at it and I think they're going to be facing a lot of teams that are going to be vastly improved from their 2020 schedule and our 2019 schedule. And, and I look at it and I think the Eagles are going to have a very tough go of it. Yeah, I really do. And like I said, I don't know how Nick Sirianni is going to do once he gets into that. We have to prepare each week for each different teams. Now, I've been somewhat impressed by his press conferences recently. High energy. He's saying the right things, but I have no idea how well he's going to do once the pressure gets and not only that, but happened last year.
You're freezing up
So,
there, Jay.
so
Jay, you're freezing up. So
what?
we'll go to Alex. Alex, you're nodding
Okay.
your head here. You agree with my brother?
Yeah, Jeff, it's going to be a struggle. I don't even know if the Eagles are going to pull out a win their first 5 games of the season. The best team they might have a chance against might be Carolina because Sam Darnold's new to that system. Looking at their schedule, they're going to have a very competitive schedule. It's a tough schedule. Within the first 10 games, you're going to see the Buccaneers, you're going to see the Chiefs, you're going to see the Falcons, you're going to see a division team. It's a pretty competitive division, and you got the Heisman Trophy receiver, the player everyone wanted. But the thing is, how are these players going to mesh, right? A year ago, what was the Eagles' biggest problem? Players staying healthy and not having the positional players, right? Besides the quarterback stuff, because Carson Wentz is gone, so we're going to ignore that. They got Jalen Hurts, but they never had positional players and positional help. You got one guy now. You don't know how the chemistry is yet with Jalen Hurts. You got one guy, how they're going to react on an NFL level. But it's going to be a rough year for the Eagles in general. They might just fall. I could see them being fourth in the division. I still think it's Washington football team's division.
I agree. I think Washington has a great shot at the division. I'm just smiling at the Eagles' schedule because both me and Shane are on the schedule this year. The Eagles got the 49ers early, and then they head out and they play the Raiders there, and that should be a fun, entertaining game out there in Vegas there, Shane.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Like I said, the schedule does not favor the Eagles. But, hey, you know what? The schedule's never favored my Raiders either for how many years and stuff. So, look, I'm not going to cry any milk over for this, guys, man. This is how it goes. But like I said, is what? They got it tough. They really do right out of the gate. And then, again, you're not playing your own division guys until the last. That's tough. Not till December is where you play in Washington, New York, back to Washington, and back to, Dallas. And then you got Dallas in there, too. Like I said, that's tough. That's your own division, and you're not seeing those guys until the last part of the year, technically. You know what I mean? In so many ways. So you're going to get beaten up throughout the season, and you're supposed to perform your best at the end of the season against your rivalries. And a lot of those games could make or break on where you're going to place. There's no question about that. So I agree with Alex. I believe that this is Washington's division to win it or lose it. And I think Washington's going to come out of the gate fired up, ready to take it and solidify and say, listen, we're not going to go through that whole, we're all tied at 2-2, whatever else. No, we want to step up and we want to be ahead of everybody else. So, like I said, I agree with that. I know Dallas is going to have something to say about it. There's no question there. They're feeling Dak is on track to get back in there. They still got Zeke. They got all this other stuff, but they don't have a defense. So, like I said, I just think that this is going to be Washington's time to sneak in there, do their thing. But I will also have to nod my head to the Giants a little bit, too, in that division. I do think the Giants have made some key things to make it work for them. I'm not saying they're going to be the greatest competitors out there and stuff like that, but I do think they are going to make some things happen that are going to shock some people.
And to your point, what you said earlier, Shane, about the schedule being not so good for your Raiders, wouldn't you say they have one of the toughest schedules this year? Maybe even top 3? I think they have a hard schedule.
Yeah, they always got a hard. That's the thing. It's like we don't care. They just go out there and say, look, this is what we're going to get. We know that's what we're getting, so who cares? You know what I mean? And you do your damn best to play and stuff. And that's all it comes down to. But like I said, really, you know what? I was trying to go through the schedule to see who actually has the most, I don't want to say the easiest, but the most convenient in many ways for them. You know what I mean? Which team has the most convenient schedule? And Tampa's floating around not too bad themselves and stuff. But I also think Seattle's not too bad schedule-wise, too.
I think the problem with Seattle is the fact that they're going to have all those division games to rattle around in that division. That's gonna just be a war out there in the West between all these teams. Whether you're talking Arizona, whether you're talking San Francisco, whether you're talking like you said, it's going to be a tough go of it for all those teams in the Western Division because they're all going to knock each other around out there. And they're going to have to play each other. It's going to, I think, for bringing this back to the Eagles, looking at their schedule, they have a lot of division games coming up late on their schedule, which is going to be interesting as you get into December and into January. Yep. That's going to play, a very interesting part because they're going to be, bouncing around their division right there towards the end of the year. So they're going to be playing a lot of teams outside their division most of the early to mid part of the year. And the Eagles have a bye week that's very late in the season. So they're going to be going they're going to have to go week to week here and deal with the injuries without having that bye week come up because you kind of like to have that bye week right around the middle part of the year. But the Eagles are going to have it late, so that's going to get interesting as it goes as you dive into the particulars of the Eagles season.
And it's all going to be based on how, like you said, week to week, these Eagles are going to have to keep up with some of the toughest competitors outside their division because going through the season, you're not going to count on some of those divisional wins early on like you might be able to. You're going to by the time you see the Cowboys and the Washington football team and stuff, you got to have significant amount of wins under your belt. And not only that, but prove you can compete at a high level with some of these teams. Like I said, within the first 5 games, you're versing or 6 games, you're versing the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, and
you're versing Mahomes, you're versing Brady before you even get to your divisional opponents. That schedule's not going to favor the Eagles at all.
No.
When you have a schedule that doesn't favor the Eagles, when you have a schedule that doesn't favor your team, you're up the creek without a paddle. Point blank.
What do you think of the Giant schedule there, Mike?
Okay, so I did a video on the Giant schedule. I broke down each and every game, whether I think they would win or lose. I think the schedule outside of the Chiefs and Buccaneers, I think that favors the Giants. I'm a little iffy on the Las Vegas Raiders game late in the season, but it's a somewhat favorable schedule for the New York Giants. I think they'll give Washington a run for their money. It'll be a close division.
Yeah.
I think the Giants could pull it out.
Yep. What do you think? So you think the Giants can actually, compete with the Washington football team there at the top of the division?
Maybe.
Yes, I think the Giants will compete with Washington and might even impeach Washington from the top of the NFC East.
I feel like it's hard to compare. I feel like that's hard. That's a good question to ask. I feel like it's kind of hard because last season, the only reason why it was a competitive division was because everybody was doing so bad. It was you just needed one guy to do good, and everyone just did bad, and that's why it looked like it was competitive. But I think, with the Ryan Fitzmagic, he spurts and stuff, but he's backed by a really young, talented defense. I feel like if the Giants at one point can keep up, it's going to be how long. It's almost like that watching a 4x100. The one year where Andrew Bailey ran against Usain Bolt in the anchor, he was neck and neck with him, and then by the end, Usain Bolt pulls away. It's going to be like that. You're just going to
Usain Bolt.
You're just going to watch the Giants slip off.
But are we discounting a little bit Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys a little bit?
The Cowboys have no defense.
They got offense. They got no defense. That secondary can get torched.
Well, I think that's why they went on. They went so heavy on defense in the draft to try to account for that lack of defense that they had last season. So they went heavy there in the draft to account for that. But here we are. Looking at the Cowboys and say, but I think there's some I will say this. I think there's some pressure, on Dak Prescott to come back and show that he is capable of competing with some of these upper echelon quarterbacks, given the contract that he's
the contract and his injury, coming back from an injury.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Dak's got a lot to prove, and he's going to go out there with that ego attitude to say, listen, you got counted me out. You didn't want to give me a contract. You didn't want to do all these things. I have to fight for everything. Well, guess what? I'm going to show you how good I am. And that's his attitude when he comes into the league.
That's the nature of the NFL. You got to fight for every snap. You got to fight for every contract.
But you can still get injured, and that could be your season, and you're done. Just like Barkley did. I mean, like I said, anything can happen. You know what I mean? And that's until we get this going. Who is going to solidify us staying, first off, injured-free, which is huge, especially at the key position at quarterback, and losing your star running backs at certain times too. So like I said, there's going to be a lot of pressure put on that division, all right, considering everything that's transpired in the last few years of being the weakest in the league. Now, Washington has said, you know what, we're going to do this. And that's their attitude right now. And like I said, I understand New York's point of view. I still see Cowboys trying to make a statement because that's who the Cowboys are. They're got the Eagles like no tomorrow. But I still think Washington is that team to take that one.
Yeah. I think, I still think, look, Dallas could obviously surprise some people. Because, they do have that tremendous offense, and there is going to be that pressure on Dak Prescott. So they could be that team lying in the weeds in this division, and something that we'll have to see, if Washington can get off to a decent start. And, oh, by the way, that's how the NFL season will open up and, pull up the curtain is the Dallas Cowboys will get the opportunity to see Tom Brady right off the bat here. And
they're screwed.
I think that's going to be a very interesting test for Dak Prescott right off the jump here as we get the NFL season going.
They're screwed.
So, Alex, I just want your opinion there as we get, as you look at that particular game, open up this NFL season, that game really jumped out at me as far as, looking at the Dallas Cowboys and seeing what they have. And then again, seeing what Tom Brady has coming out right here at the jump.
And it's almost like we said, 3 minutes ago, that secondary will get torched. You're going against one of the most high-powered offenses. You're going to see Gronk, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin and Brady on your first go of the season. Here's my thing. The Cowboys playing Brady, no, even when he was on New England, now he's on Tampa Bay. You want to control the clock, and you want to keep that dude off the field. You need to keep him off the field. That's what the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to do. They're going to have to control the clock. They're going to have to get Zeke going, get him going early. Really, I believe they need to play some ground and pound on this defense. I think they have a – here's the problem.
But that Buccaneers defense won't let him.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Tampa Bay's defense has a very strong secondary, but what do you want to test? You want to test their secondary on the first game of the season? No. Go play old school. Bring it back old school, ground and pound. I trust Zeke. I'll trust Zeke with the ball. Let Dak Prescott ease into his way. I think they need to keep Tom Brady off the field, control the time of possession, and when it comes to defense, they got to apply the pressure to Brady. They really got to get to him. You saw it last year when Brady, for example, against the Bears, when Khalil Mack sacked him for the second time. It took 2 sacks to piss Tom Brady off. Brady looked at Khalil and said, again? They got to get those edge rushers in. They got to apply the pressure on Tom Brady. Other than that, you'll get carved up every time.
And then Tom totally forgot that it was 4th down. So, like I said, that was a tough tip, right? He's like, "Damn, we're done. Game's over. What happened? I thought I had another down." So you're absolutely correct. I mean, that's going to be huge in that way. But you know what? Here's the biggest thing too: is think about this, guys. If the Eagles get off to a bad start and start losing right away, that's going to mess with them upstairs. Yeah, and the weeks are getting tougher and tougher in that beginning part. And if they don't get a victory, let's say if you're looking at the schedule, they play Atlanta, they lose. They play San Fran and they lose. They play Dallas and they happen to lose, even if it's a close one, right? Whatever. Then you got the Chiefs. Then you're hoping you win against Carolina. Great. But then you're playing Tampa. Then you got the Vegas and Detroit. Like I said, it's going to be a tough. You're almost going to think like you're the Detroit Lions. I mean, that's how Detroit Lions used to feel all the time, So like I said, they got to get victories in there fast somehow. But like I said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them. That's all I got to say about that one.
I have a question for you because that was a good point. It will mess with them upstairs. How much of it do you think will bother Jalen Hurts that he didn't have proper mentorship being his first year as a rookie under Carson Wentz and their problems? You dump into this season with a team you have to build chemistry with, and it's going to be a hard schedule if they start losing.
And that's the problem right there, right? You just said it, mentorship. You're allowing this young guy to go out there, and as much as talent as he has, he doesn't have the NFL experience. He doesn't have the speed of the game in there yet inside of him, and he's going to force things, and he's going to want things to happen right away. So now it's going to come to this. What patience does he have, which is going to be huge because he's going to need more patience because he's going to be scrambling right off the hop in many ways. Second of all, he's going to start questioning his own judgments on certain things, and that's what he can't do. He can't say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done it." You know what? You got to look back at it and say it was the right play, but the guy wasn't in the right position. So it's not so much always on me. There's certain aspects out there that have to happen too, and that's what I'm saying. Is, and you brought this up, is these guys, especially Hurts, being young and still getting the knowledge in, you know what I mean, from the offense, from the things like this, and trying to make things happen. But if he can't and he has to force it, that's where he's going to wind up being, you know what, you got to ease back. We got to bring you back, and you got to watch from the sidelines a little bit to see what's going on. That's what you don't want to happen, though. You don't want that to happen. But I'm afraid that if they, like I said, they've already forced him out there. They're saying, you're the guy, go. Except you make bad mistakes, it's gonna wind up really hurting him in so many ways. And that's the sad part about this. So how much he's doing right now is going to be very key on getting on the right page, the right track with everything. But his own line is going to have a huge task in front of them to keep him upright, to feel good and confident. Because like I said, when those wins don't come, it's going to shoot him down an awful lot.
Yep.
And how much pressure, Shane, going to that effect, how much pressure does that put on Sirianni as the head coach to continue to put his quarterback in a good position to have the kind of success that he wants to have, and keep those bad thoughts out of his mind? Because he's going to have those games where he's going to struggle. I mean, you can see it coming right now, or you can see the games on the schedule where he's going to have those games where he's just not going to figure things out. He's going to throw some picks. He's going to have those so he's got to have. So the coach obviously has to really continue to implant in him that positive attitude going forward, and just forget about those mistakes and to keep him going there.
Hey, he's going to earn his paycheck this year. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? Because not only are you worrying about that aspects of Jalen Hurts, but you also got to worry about your defense giving up too much too. So, you know what I mean? You're the defensive specialist, and you're going to give up probably extra amount of points that you're going to look back and say, no, we can't have this happening too. So you've got that stress is happening as well. Like I said, he's going to earn his paycheck this year. But in retrospect, he's got to keep everything. He's got to keep that team disciplined too. That's another big factor that you're forgetting about too, is that if that team starts taking bad holds, bad penalties to keep Jalen upright and everything like that, you're setting yourself back. That team needs to be a lot more disciplined and focused in that way. But I also think though too, and I'm just kind of wondering about this one, are they going to play the more dump and dive type of game? Are they going to look at saying, let's just get 3 or 5 and move it, 3 or 6 and keep moving the chains? Are they going to try to say, nope, he can sit back there and zing it down for 12 yards, 15, 18, 22 yards, stuff like this? What kind of offensive package are these Eagles going to want to come in with Jalen in this way? Because like I said, it's going to dictate a lot of different things too. If I'm dumping the ball 3 yards, hopefully you stretch out for 2, there's 5. Okay, that's 1 down. Run it for a couple. Great, there's 2. You know what I mean? This is the type of thing. So what kind of Eagles are you going to get? Is it going to be a boring style of offense out there because that's the only way they can manage and move the ball? Or are they going to try to play, let's throw it, take our chances attitude?
And speaking of that, Alex, we got obviously a huge game that's going to be coming up in New England. You've got people that are paying, thousands of dollars to attend Brady's homecoming, if you will, as Tampa Bay will travel to New England in first week in October, which should be a very interesting affair up there in New England. I'm sure Belichick will be waiting eagerly to see Tom Brady come back, and that should have that's going to have just all the hype you could want really going into that game, Alex. I mean, throw whatever you want out there. This is going to be a huge game on the schedule for the NFL.
Yeah, Darth Vader versus Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Remember in Star Wars when Darth Vader took Emperor Palpatine and he threw him over the rafters and then fall to his death? It's going to be Brady coming back to New England. I think it's going to be, besides any playoff or Super Bowl, I think that's going to be the most anticipated game all season, just in general, because this guy's spent 20 years, won 6 rings with these guys. There was always the question, is it Belichick or is it Brady more the mastermind? Then you have the argument that Brady was built around in Tampa Bay, which made it easier, but he's going to come back. There's going to be egos involved. Brady's going to want to make a statement. Belichick's going to want to make a statement. And let's not forget Cam Newton, the guy who filled Tom Brady's shoes. He's going to go up against this guy and be like, oh, this is my biggest statement to make. I was once going to fill your shoes. Now I need to beat you.
Well, that brings up a very good question. You think that Cam Newton will still be the quarterback?
And I think he will. I think the Patriots have no choice but to keep Cam Newton in all year. The reason why I say that, I'm not a big fan of starting the rookies in their first year, even if the team's doing bad. I would let the rookies sit out the whole year and start next year. That's just my opinion always. But the way I look, I think if I'm not wrong, I'll have to look this up. I think Cam Newton's also undefeated against Tom Brady. I think he only played twice when Cam Newton was in Carolina. I think I'm actually going to look that up real quick. I think.
Yeah, they only played twice. Well, Carolina.
And then there was a controversial call where in the end zone where Brady threw it to Gronk, and there was a pass interference missed call. Brady ran down those refs. He was pissed, but the Panthers won. Oh, there's a lot.
I believe this week too. They had Tom Brady's dad on air talking about this, saying, "Oh yeah, we got the tickets for this game. We're set. we're ready for it." So
they're going to be in the box. They're going to be there.
Exactly. It's going to be amazing. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. And the other thing is,
Jay, you're cutting in and out again.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, Jay. Yeah, you're cutting in and out. But, well, a little bit better, yes.
Okay, well, Tom Brady is going for a win against all the NFL teams in that game. So he's going to be extra motivated to get that win, and the players around him and the coaching staff will be motivated to get him a win in that game too, because he will join a select group of quarterbacks that have beaten all the other NFL teams if he gets a win in that game. So there's going to be something on the line for Tom Brady as well in beating Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, he would have. If he beats the Patriots, doesn't he win against every team in the NFL?
Yep, that's what I just said. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's probably why ticket prices are so sky high.
But I just believe that Belichick is just circling this game on the calendar, and he's going to have something special, online for Brady. Because if there's anybody who knows Tom Brady, now the question, and Belichick always tends to put a defense on the field, so we'll have to see how Belichick really approaches. And that's going to be the game within the game, and the chess match going forward is how does Belichick attack Tom Brady in the game. I think that's going to be very interesting because if there's anybody who knows, Tom Brady, it's Bill Belichick, and it's going to be interesting to see how Belichick actually, goes about. Does he blitz Tom Brady? Does he try to, get at Tom Brady? Or does he try to, put a lot of guys into coverage and stifle guys like Gronk and so forth? So that's going to be a very interesting game within the game because that's really how Belichick likes to live on his defense, and it's going to be that's going to be a game that's going to be the game within the game that I'm going to be watching is how Belichick approaches Tom Brady in the game.
Belichick is a defensive coach. He won a ring as a defensive coordinator with the Giants before he came to New England. He's defensive minded. If I'm Belichick, I'm sending the pressure on Tom Brady. I like New England secondary enough to keep up with the weaponry from the Buccaneers. Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson on those two ends, very good cornerback. Stephon Gilmore is almost as tall as Mike Evans. They're a couple inches off in height, but he's such a lockdown cornerback. I trust him one-on-one. I trust Devin McCourty over top. I like the secondary. I have faith enough to send in Kyle Van Noy and the crowd from New England.
And then do you look at it like this, though, too, being a low-scoring game because of that?
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, absolutely. I think it'll be it's almost like Mayweather and Pacquiao, how everyone anticipated this brawl, and it was like, wow, it's really just a dance round almost. It was really – I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. It's going to be like, fourth quarter is the biggest time. It's going to crunch time.
Yeah, I'm predicting 23-20 Tampa.
I think it's going to be. I agree with Mike on this. I think it's going to be a tough game all around for both of these squads because Belichick is going to have some surprises in store for Brady. I truly believe this. Do I think the Patriots are really that good of a team going into this year? I think they're decent, but no, I don't think they're that good of a team. So I think Brady can have his way. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, how does Brady adjust to what Belichick throws at him and so forth? So it could be kind of a knockdown, drag out kind of a game. And kind of, and again, hopefully the weather, cooperates up in New England and so forth. And you don't have like a rainy kind of muddy kind of field or so forth like that. But it's something to watch as as the NFL season gets underway. Otherwise, I think when you look at the Sunday night schedule, I mean, I always tend, one of the things that I do when the schedule comes out is I look at the Sunday night schedule and try to parse that out because those are kind of the big games, the week that the NFL likes us following. I think, one of the things that came to mind for me is would they have enough, to get through the extra game of the season? And I think they do. I think you look at this and there's enough games to go around where you look at this season and that extra week of games really is, a good thing. So I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a bad thing for the NFL. I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I agree with you guys on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to make it more exciting. It's going to make it more. That last game, everyone's usually used to throwing it away. We're going to see him play for one more game. Yeah. I love it. I'm a football fan. I love it all day.
I can't disagree. I think it's going to be a great. It's a good thing for the NFL to have this extra week, and hopefully, because it's better than, like I said, it's much better than having that extra preseason game. To be honest with you, I'm happy they're ditching that and adding the extra week. I think that's going to be good, and the Sunday night games are good as well. So I think all around the NFL schedule does kind of give each and everybody. I mean, one of the things I like about the schedule release show is the fact that you get to see all three of the big guys, kind of teasing each other. At the same time, you see Joe Buck going up, against Al Michaels, going up, against Jim Nance, and you see that kind of back and forth that they have about their schedules, who has the better schedule and so forth, whether it be Fox, whether it be CBS, or whether it be ABC. So, it's always NBC, I should say. So it's going to be interesting. I think obviously the streaming option is going to get bigger as the NFL gets going here. A couple more years, going to see more streaming games going to the NFL. So that'll be interesting as the NFL ventures into more of the streaming aspect, because that's where everybody's going now anyway. So I think
ABC return to the fold with this upcoming TV deal.
Right. So I think that upcoming, once that kicks into effect, you start to see the streaming up, you start to see more streaming games. And so forth. I think that's going to get interesting as far as the NFL goes. Any other comments, guys, on this kind of schedule before we dive into the NBA?
I think it's also going to do good for viewings, knocking out that preseason game, add one more game in, even before the streams, the ratings for NFL were always iffy up and down like a stock chart. I think it does better adding that one more game. More people tune into that week than they will the fourth preseason game.
Yeah, and again, too, is it's, put it this way, those coaches are going to make some fast decisions, too, because they're so used to their four preseason games. Well, guess what? Now you got to figure out, am I keeping the guy or am I cutting the guy? You know what I mean? And it's also the time for those players to step up even faster and say, okay, you know what? I don't get a lot of opportunities here, so I got to make a mark right away. So like I said, it's going to count right from the start.
Earn the keep.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna segue now to the NBA because the NBA is about ready to end their regular season. I say finally because it's kind of dragged on here for a bit here, but finally we're getting ready to end the.
Hey, at least we had an NBA season.
Yes, I will agree with you there. But at the same time, it's kind of like, we've known for a while. Hey, we know this team. We know these teams. We want to get the playoffs underway. We want to get it going, and we want to see what these teams really have because a lot of these teams have just been waiting and lying in the weeds here for the playoffs to get going. So here we are. Of course, the Sixers obviously have been in a position of being the 1 seed. They have clinched the 1 seed, so they are set to go here. As far as they're concerned. So now the truth of the matter is we look at the playoff scenario, and the Knicks are going hard here to try to get the 4th seed, which kind of, as we said last week, makes things kind of interesting in the second round for the Sixers, because they might end up playing the Knicks, and the Knicks are not going to be a pushover in any respect whatsoever. But the Knicks have some work to do today to wrap up and to get that 4th seed cemented, and to do that. But I gotta say, the Knicks, off of last season and the previous years, this has been a tremendous season for them to get where they are, and certainly for the other local team. When you look at the Sixers, they obviously are looking ahead to big things, obviously, in the playoffs. And I don't think anything less than the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals will do for Sixer fans. And I'll throw that at the coach.
Yeah, well, hey, we've talked about this from the start, right? The fans in Philly want that conference title. They want it, and they don't, end of story, right? You brought in the players, you brought in the coach, you brought in everybody that you needed to get you there. Now, they have the number 1 seed. So what's stopping them? Well, you got teams like you said, the Knicks that could be a pain in the butt for them. You know what I mean? And again, too, hopefully they come in to this conference, to the playoffs, not really injured up, banged up too much. I know there's a lot of guys that have been resting, sore this, sore that, a few things. Your biggest factor is just keeping Embiid healthy. I mean, that's your bread and butter. You got to keep that guy healthy. I think this is where you're going to see exactly how good of a coach is Doc Rivers when it comes to time management in working with these guys too. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you got to get Simmons firing on all cylinders. You got to get Harris firing on all cylinders, but you got to keep Embiid still time in certain ways, not overdoing it, especially when you're trying to make a run for certain things. And like I said, the Knicks today, they're playing against a beat-up Boston team anyways, who's not even playing half the guys. So the Knicks are taking and saying, no, we got the number 4. We're going to be good. Because guess what? We know there are going to be upsets in these playoffs. We know somebody's going to be bounced, whether it be in the East or the West, that you didn't see that coming. And that's just how it is. It's always like that from college basketball to the pros. So like I said, it's going to be interesting. Knicks are hoping to be that team, I think, to say, guess what? We're gonna make a little run in here. We're gonna cause some problems, and we're gonna do our very best. But I do think that it's gonna come down to discipline in many, many ways too. I think these guys got to be disciplined a lot better. Ball control is going to be huge. You know what I mean, for the Sixers in so many ways, possession wise, everything like this. But like I said, as fans out there, they're saying, in it to win it, and we ain't taking anything less than that conference championship.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at, and I'll throw this to Alex, if you look at the Sixers, I think the big question for teams that go up against Sixers is how are you going to defend Joel Embiid? I think that's going to be the big question for teams, because obviously Joel Embiid can be a big force there, and he's going to want to take over games. So that's going to be interesting as to how teams approach defending Joel Embiid.
Apply the pressure. Listen, whenever it comes to like certain things like this, especially when you got a guy like Embiid who's having like a MVP season, I'm huge on. You might call it dirty, you might call it what it is, but apply the pressure. You got to get in his face. You got to get it. You're playing rough with these guys. Get in his mind, maybe. Say little things in his ear. Get some chatter going. Throw him off his game mentally. Apply the pressure on Joel Embiid. That's what I want to see. That's what I would do. Or also I would force people to do. I ain't going to say push him and foul him and all that stuff and go wild. But I'm saying, chat in his ear a little bit, get into his mental space, really apply the pressure. When you have a guy like this entering the playoffs and he does it healthy, he can explode because we've seen it time and time again. Apply the pressure on this guy.
And what do you
know
think?
what? I want to piggyback. I want to piggyback off of that real quick, and also say I think you also need to frustrate Simmons. I think that as soon as you frustrate Simmons, he's going to make bad passes, bad shots as well, but he's going to force things. And that is going to frustrate also MB in many ways too, because now he's got to do extra duty because this guy isn't playing as well too. So I think if you can frustrate Simmons, it might make a big deal as well.
And I think that playing to your point, Shane, that's going to be a big question because I think the key really is not so much Joel Embiid as much as it is Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons, obviously, Defensive Player of the Year. You're looking at a guy who has played so well defensively and has done such a good job throughout the year. Now you're trying, but also I think a key to the Sixers' success or that they're up is the bench. You know, the bench has got to come up here and give that team some support, give those frontline players some support here going through the playoffs. Maybe not necessarily in the first round, but definitely as they progress through the playoffs, that bench is going to become a storyline as they go through, because that bench is going to have to step up and give that and give these guys some minutes here. Especially, you know, if B gets a little banged up or Simmons gets a little banged up or so forth, these guys, you know, have to be able to step up here and give these guys and give the Sixers some minutes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody understands you got to come. You're going to have to get a little rest. You know what I mean? Yeah. And stuff. It's the guys, like you said, coming off the bench. But again, too, is are they going to be able to, you know, play smart, or are they going to get ejected like a guy like Bradley and them? I mean, like you got to play smart now, right? This isn't about being over aggressive and things like that. You're basically just giving the guys a few minute rest so that they can get back in and finish off the game for you. Do your job. But like I said, sometimes these guys get over anxious, and when you think about that team too, if they get past the first round, right, in a relatively good, easy fashion, and they start moving to the second and so on, how many of them actually have playoff experience that are going to help them further down the road too? You know what I mean? That's going to be key. That's going to be key to understanding this game of not getting too amped up, because it's not just another game in some ways. This is like huge in so many ways for these guys and stuff like that. And that's where I think you're going to start seeing some of this pressure on some of these guys, especially coming off the bench, making mistakes that they probably would have never made during the season, but are making them now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, that was a great point. That was one thing I want to target is how much playoff experience does this bench have to really back these guys up? Because you would want to say, where these bench players come in playoff time, you want to see this bench play like the Miami Heat did back when LeBron James was on the team, or Mario Chalmers and stuff would come off the bench. You want to see that type of bench action. But to Shane's point, he already covered it. How much experience do they have?
And I mean, the only guy that's got a ring is Danny Green, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to play. I think that's going to play a factor. Is, you know, how much experience, you know, some of these players have in the playoffs. A lot of these guys, you know, Ben Simmons, certainly you look at Joel Embiid, have not had success in the playoffs. So they've got to step up here, and they've got to be ready to go, because you know, they're going to face some competition, I think, early on in these playoffs. It's not going to be, you know, a cakewalk by any means going through the Eastern Conference and trying to get to the NBA Finals, especially when you talk about, like we said, the Knicks. And I think Thibodeau has done just a tremendous job with the Knicks. I mean, he has really, really performed very well as the head coach there up in New York. He is. I cannot be more impressed with how he's managed that team to get that team into the position it's in. If they clinch or seed, the Knicks obviously just, you know, are going to be that pain in the butt kind of a team that is going to be a tough out in these in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And if it happens to be the Sixers that they run up against in the second round, I don't think that's going to scare or bother the Knicks one iota. They're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be ready to face the Philadelphia 76ers. And I look forward to that. It's kind of a Philly, New York kind of thing getting together here. And again, even with that, then the Sixers, even if they get by the Knicks, they might have the Nets waiting in the wings there in the Eastern Conference Finals. and that's going to be a whole war into and of itself there. When you look at the big three there, we saw that last night. They finally got to play together. They shook off some rust. They were able to win last night. So the big three up there in Brooklyn seem like, okay, we're ready to go. Let's get this thing underway, and let's go for the championship, because that's why these three were put together to do it.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it too, James Harden comes back after what, 6 weeks off, right? And his first game back, they throw him out there. The guy gets 12 points just like that. Didn't skip a beat.
Right.
No problems. You know what I mean? 5 assists, doing his thing, having some fun. And that's all it was. And everyone's questioning, can he do well? Can he still shoot it? Can he do this? Blah, blah, blah. No, the guy can still play. And that's what the problem is now everyone's going, well, they've been injured. They haven't played together. They haven't done this. Yeah, but they don't skip a beat. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. And this is a tough team that you got to get through as well. And like I said, don't count them out. Yeah, Sixers, you're in the number 1 spot, but don't count the Nets out.
That's the thing, and it's going to get very interesting as the playoffs get underway, and we solidify all the playoff matchups. It's going to be an interesting path here for the Sixers. Like I said, I don't think it's a cakewalk. I think it's going to be a very interesting run for the Sixers as they go forward, and certainly. The leader, obviously, of the Nets, well, we know that's Kevin Durant, and we know that, he's hungry right now to prove that, what, I jumped ship. I went to this organization. I decided to come here and play for this organization, and I want to prove, hey, I can go out and I can win, a championship. But there are those people, and I will say, the skeptics surrounding Durant that say, what, he needs these other guys. He needs a Harden. He needs those other guys around him to be successful. And he goes and, he brings these other guys with him to ultimately have success. I tend to look at it and say, look, Kevin Durant's in a winner where he's been. And he certainly proved that, I think, with Golden State. Going out there, improving and making that run to the playoffs that he did, and winning the championship out there. Now he gets an opportunity, obviously, to do that in Brooklyn. So it's going to get this is going to be an interesting storyline to watch, as is, I believe, the storyline out west, which is going to be the storyline of LeBron James, and where does the Lakers, and certainly how does he certainly carry that team through the playoffs, being a lower seed and not the higher seed in the playoffs there, Alex.
You threw that to me, right?
Threw that to you as LeBron James, yes.
Yeah, it's almost like the Tom Brady of the NBA. I don't have a lot of doubt in him at all. I think LeBron James is going to come in like normal LeBron James. He's been in a situation before where he has had to put a whole team on his back, and that was, remember, his first time in Cleveland when he took that team to the playoffs. He may not have won, but he's been in these situations before. He's been in comfortable positions. I feel he genuinely thrives through uncomfortable positions. I think he can turn it up that notch that you need to see him for in the playoff times. You've seen veterans with him get frustrated. You see him get frustrated at veterans. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. When J.R. Smith went the wrong way, and he was like, "Come on!" He has a younger. You know what I'm saying? He has a younger squad now. He has a different squad around him that the team knows who's the guy. They're going to look up to this guy. You are a leader. You are Mufasa right now. Lead us to the promised land. I have faith that he can do it. Work their way up the ranks. Do I think they're going to go to the finals? Nah. I actually don't think the Lakers go to the finals. Maybe. It's going to be rough. You would love to see it because of what happened to Kobe Bryant, if I'll be honest. But I think it's going to be a tough way for them to go all the way. That's the hard part.
And speaking, you brought up Kobe Bryant, so we'll go right there to that last night. Kobe Bryant entered the Hall of Fame, obviously posthumously. So, we congratulate, obviously, Kobe Bryant on getting into the Hall of Fame. Just a tremendous speech there by Michael Jordan, and certainly his widow coming out, and it was a very touching moment there between her and Michael Jordan.
Bianca and Capri, I'm so happy you're here to see this tonight. Daddy was incredible. He loves you girls so very much. Congratulations, baby. All of your hard work and sacrifices paid off. You once told me, if you're going to bet on someone, bet on yourself. I'm glad you bet on yourself, you overachiever. You did it. You're in the Hall of Fame now. You're a true champ. You're not just an MVP. You're an all-time great. I'm so proud of you. I love you forever and always. Kobe Bean Bryant.
Yeah, a very, very touch moment there with Vanessa Bryant. Just, to me, obviously very sad. Obviously, for those who may not follow the NBA, Kobe Bryant dying in a plane crash last year. So it's it's just something, and they waived obviously the rule to get Kobe Bryant in there as quickly as they did, but. Just a tremendous speech there by Vanessa, and certainly seeing Michael Jordan come out, it's one of those things that you're talking about. Two of the top three players, top five of all time when you look at Kobe Bryant and certainly Michael Jordan, and that was tremendous. Tim Duncan obviously also going into the Hall of Fame as well. Last night. So just an all-around great Hall of Fame class last night going into the NBA. Shane, I just wanted to get your opinion on the ceremony and certainly the speech there by Vanessa Bryant.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, great class, like you said, going in. Kobe deserves all the accolades and everything like that. His wife, without a doubt, I mean, did an amazing job under the pressure of everything that's transpired. I was fortunate enough to have met Kobe once before, so I just tons of respect for the man in that way. But like I said, much missed. But when you look at his accomplishments of everything that man has done, the list is so bloody long. You couldn't be more proud. And I mean, that's really comes down to. I mean, he made players better. He made you better out there, just like Michael made him better, just like everyone makes each other better. And to me, that's the greatest thing that you could give any player out there, a gift like that. And you know what? That's why he was missed. That's why he's loved. And that's why he will always be remembered, in that Laker community and in the world of basketball, but in the world general. So, I mean, as tough as that was for Vanessa and everybody like that, the family, my condolences to them again. But like I said, it was the greatest thing for them to see him go into the Basketball Hall of Fame like that.
Do you think that, obviously, the one guy that comes to mind where I think of Kobe Bryant is obviously Shaq and Shaquille O'Neal, and the rivalry that those two guys had through the years, going back and forth because they were buddies and then they were not buddies. And then, I just remember the entire circus that went on there between the two of them. The two alpha males there in LA when Shaq obviously came over from playing in Orlando to come back and play to go out there and play in LA and join Kobe Bryant out there and win the championships out there. It kind of shows you the kind of competitiveness that Kobe Bryant had and certainly Shaq had, and to be that dominant force in the NBA that they were, and to me, there's only, if it wasn't going to be Michael Jordan obviously putting Kobe in there, the only other guy that I could think of that could do it would have been Shaquille O'Neal to put Kobe in the Hall of Fame, given their history and given the fact of all that they went through in their respective careers. Especially out there in LA, and that to me, I mean, it's just that just always comes to mind me when I think of Kobe Bryant is that rivalry that goes forward there, Alex, is between those two guys. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, one of the things I remember with Kobe, rest in peace to him and condolences to the family. is, his idolization he had with Michael Jordan, the way he emulated him on the court, the way he played the game where he would dribble in and stick the tongue out like Jordan used to do and stuff, It's just the way he idolized, he grew up watching guy. It's almost like when you watch boxers, right? When Floyd Mayweather said that's all he knew was boxing, that's all Kobe knew was just watching film, studying tape, idolizing Jordan, and he perfected his craft to becoming one of the best ever. Now, I never got to meet him like Shane did, but I got to watch him play. That's something like not a lot of people who get to say, whether you're not a basketball fan, right? I could tell my kids that one day I got to see Kobe Bryant play. It just really sucks that, he's not around to see himself or hear himself enshrined in the Hall of Fame. He knows it. He knew it. He was going to be a Hall of Famer, but, it's just really sad that when I was watching it, I was like, the one thing I kept thinking of was, man, I really wish like he could have been here to like hear it, see this. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different feeling.
Yeah, it was kind of
he
like
he was the guy that appreciated the game. He appreciated the game. You know what I mean? At every level, from his kids' levels all the way to the pros. But he appreciated the game, and he appreciated the talent that was also coming into the league too. You know what I mean? And to me, that's huge from a player like that. He could have easily been any other guy and just said, "Yeah, I'll go whenever I want." Stuff. His supportiveness to the team, but to other players out there to say, hey, listen, you got talent, kid. Get out there and do your thing. Do it smart. You know what I mean? He was that type of a guy, and that's the biggest thing.
And
but
that's
the biggest thing, I think, for Kobe was the fact that he was a family guy. And you could tell that with his daughters and so how he treated them and so forth. And it's a real, tragedy. Not only did he pass away in the play coach, but also his daughter as well. And, the fact that one of his daughters, obviously, and it's just great to see his surviving daughter having the success that she's having. And that's just really due to the effect I think that Kobe Bryant had, on his family, pushing his daughters to have the success that they had to their lives. And I think that's something that's also a part of Kobe Bryant is, how big of a great family guy this guy was.
Yeah. And my old boss, Dennis Angelina, played basketball with him in high school. They went to the same high school and the same team. And he told us a story in one of our phone conferences a year ago, or no, almost 2 years ago. I forget when, to be honest. I think it was about 2 years ago because it was right before he got promoted. He told a story how Kobe used to help him before school and after practice, stay in the gym with him and help him perfect his shot, work on free throws and work on different fundamentals with him because he was struggling a little bit while playing basketball with him. And Kobe always took the extra time to play with him and practice with him. That was one speech he gave to us as a team huddle or something. I remember that part specifically.
And just to wrap up on Kobe Bryant, obviously, you can't talk about Kobe Bryant if you don't mention his 81-point game. I think that, goes in the annals of NBA history because I don't know that anybody, is going to approach, that. I mean, obviously, I remember watching that game and thinking to myself, my God, he scored 30. Okay, now he's 40, 50, 60, 70. And it just kept he just kept going, and it was kind of like, okay, now he's approaching, now he came within, obviously, 19 points of being right there with Wilt's 100-pointer, but
I don't think that 100-point game's ever going to be topped.
No. I mean, that was, but the 81, I mean, that was just tremendous, and that was obviously on January 22nd. 2006 against poor Shane. That was against his Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, honestly, they should just let him go. They should just let him go, man. They should have let Kobe go and say, you know what, get the 100, go for it. I mean, that was.
I would let Kobe go and say, go get 101.
Yeah, go get 100. I agree with Michael. Go get 100. I mean, why not? But they were not. I mean, if you watch that game, Toronto wasn't defending him at all. They were backing off on him. And I kept thinking to myself, is Toronto ever going to change their defense and double team him or try these kind of things? They couldn't stop him, Shane. The Raptors,
they couldn't.
But the Raptors had a decent chance at 101 that night.
Yes.
I would have said
everybody took was going in. That's how good he was.
I just wonder, Shane, do you think that was a win that they did stop him from scoring 100 in the game?
In all honesty, it was. When they went back in that locker room, they said, "Well, he didn't get 101 on us." You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So, like I
Although
said,
he should have.
it's one of those things. But it's a record that still holds in many ways against the Raptors. Of 81 points being scored on you by one guy. But like I said, of all guys, I'm glad it was him.
Absolutely. And so we look ahead, obviously, to the NBA playoffs. Guys, it's time to make some picks for the NBA playoffs. Just to give us some picks here as we go through. We'll go around the horn here. Just give us, your Eastern Conference champion, your Western Conference champion, and then your NBA Finals champion. I'll start off here, and then I'll throw it down.
Wait,
Go ahead.
sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
On this day, speaking of Sixers, Allen Iverson dropped 52 points on Change Raptors on today's day.
Oh my God!
Hey, what is
Adding
it?
insult to injury there.
I had to look it up. It
The
was in my
Raptors
head.
are into charity.
Well, they certainly weren't into playing much defense. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Let's have our picks here before we get into baseball and chat a little bit about baseball. I'll go first here. First of all, my Eastern Conference champion for this year is going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I think the Nets obviously come out and they win the East. The West is going to be, a real dogfight. I'm trying to, I've tried to look at the West. I've tried to, see what team really comes out. I think Phoenix is a decent team. I've tried to kick the tires on Phoenix. But just, I like Denver. I'm gonna go with an upset. I'm gonna say, Denver comes out of the West. For some reason, I'm going to say I'm going to go with Denver, and the Nets. Brooklyn cuts down the Nets in the NBA Finals. But I'm just going to say I'm going to go wild here in the West, and I'm just going to say Denver comes out of the West.
Denver?
Okay.
No.
I'll throw it to Mike Nibian. Mike, your picks.
Obviously, I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets out of the East. They haven't won the Eastern Conference since 2003 when they were soundly dispatched by the Spurs in 6 games. Out of the West, I'm debating between the Utah Jazz and the LA Lakers, but I would love to see a Kevin Durant versus LeBron James matchup, so I'm going to go with the Lakers. And sorry, LeBron, the Larry O'Brien Trophy is heading to Brooklyn.
Okay, the coach, Shane McGowan.
Yeah, you know what? I'm taking the Nets. There's no question there. And I had a coin toss actually between the Clippers and the Nuggets. That's what I. So I had a coin toss between there. So I'm going to take the Clippers. I'm going to take my LA team. I'm going to take a Clippers and stuff. But I did have a coin toss when it came to Denver because I do think you're on something there, Jeff.
I like the Clippers. I think the Clippers can be a team out there, but it's going to be like I said. I think the West is just going to bang around. You're going to have a lot of teams just bang around there and a couple of upsets out there in the West. It's going to be kind of crazy out there. Alex, your picks.
Yeah, I wanted to be the first one to say Clippers. Oh, so close. No, yeah, I like the Clippers. I like the Clippers in the West. I'm going to go against everybody here. I'm going to put faith in the hometown team. I'm going to go with the Sixers. I'm going to go to here's the thing I really want to Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go underdog here. And here's a funny I'm not going to go out and say this far, but it would be funny if this happened. If the Sixers reface Kawhi in the champion in the finals, that'd be wild. But no, I like the Clippers because we all saw what happened last year when Kawhi hit the
shot.
So that's why I really like. I want to see the
2019
Clippers.
when that
I
happened.
want to see the Clippers go. I'm gonna take the Sixers. Everyone's saying Nets. Let's go. Let's bring the hometown in here. Sixers.
I think I know where Jay's going, but Jay, your picks.
Jeff, I love picks in this one. I really do. I'm going to go along with Alex. I love Alex's picks in this one. Number one, but I do disagree with Alex because I don't see how the number one seed in the Eastern Conference can possibly be an underdog. So that's where I disagree with Alex a
Well, I'm
little
saying
bit.
underdog on the show. So far, the Nets are all
Okay.
picked across the board.
Okay. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the Sixers' home record, and it is tremendous. That's one of the reasons why the Sixers had to go out and get that number one seed, which they have secured. So now as of right now, the Eastern Conference playoffs runs through Philadelphia. So any seventh game is going to be played in the Wells Fargo Center. That's going to be key. Another key is with picking Brooklyn, I have no idea how many games they're going to get out of the Brooklyn's top three.
There it is.
I just don't. They haven't played together. One of the guys is loopy, so you don't know when he's going to take a vacation. The other two are hurt. So,
I mean, they're hurt. All three are healthy and ready to go right now, Jay.
well, we'll see how long that holds out. Because you got Harden's ankle or whatever, and
Jay, you are not one to speak when you look at your injury history with the Sixers. So people,
Homer alert.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
Hey,
yeah.
This is total Homer alert.
remember last week when we argued the new center that the Eagles drafted and their injury rate and how healthy he can be? It's the same conversation we're having with the Nets.
Yep, exactly. And so and I don't know how well the three are going to gel together. So I have questions about the Nets. So I think the Sixers are going to get through the Eastern Conference in the NBA. And like Alex said, I like the LA Clippers to come out of the Western Conference. And like you said, Alex, I concur. That would be really good, really fun to see Kawhi go up against the Sixers again. And maybe this time the Sixers have luck on their side or are able to beat the LA Clippers. But I do think the Sixers, I would expect at the very least, securing the Eastern Conference number one seed, I would expect and I would demand of the Sixers with better coaching this year than they've had in the playoffs up to now. I would expect the Sixers to, at the very least, get to the Eastern Conference Finals. At the very least. That's the bar that has to be set this season for the Sixers. No first round, second round exit. You have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You got your big two guys healthy, Embiid and Simmons. You've got some perimeter shooting with Curry. So I would I would put the bar at the Eastern Conference Finals. Anything less than that, and it would be a huge disappointment for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I don't think the Sixers are going to have the MVP.
But they're going to run into
Mike.
Yeah, I think the Sixers make it to the Eastern Finals, but they're going to run into the Nets at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a very interesting series. I don't think there's any question about that. I think it's going to come down to how well, and like I said in my prior point is, how well does the bench come out and play for the Sixers? How healthy are, like to Jay's point, how healthy are the big three for the Nets? But how healthy is Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons? These are all questions that are going to have to be answered as we go through the playoffs, and to see it, because the playoffs are a marathon sprint. So you've got to get through these early rounds, and certainly Brooklyn will be. I think that both these teams are looking. If you look at it and you say to yourself, "Gee, who do you really want to play?" I think the Nets certainly would like to play Philadelphia, and certainly I think Philadelphia would love to have the opportunity to play in the big three to upend them, and because it's going to be interesting to see. I want to say it's going to see spread lines from Vegas and so forth when you get to that point and you're playing and the Sixers are playing the Nets. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of spread they give, what kind of underdog. They put possibly the Sixers. I don't think the Sixers will be a big underdog, or the Nets. I think it'll be close one way or the other. So we want to know. I mean, obviously, what are your NBA playoff predictions? Let us know. Tie us up in the comments section, and we'll get to your comments. And we're certainly interested in those going forward. We'll touch on a little bit of Major League Baseball, simply because look, it's been an interesting road as far as baseball goes, as far as the Phillies go. And,
and before we get to the Phillies, something came out from the Yankees. Another member of their support staff tested positive for COVID.
Interesting.
So the Yankees' COVID issues continue.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, of course they can always beat Baltimore. So, they found a team they can beat up.
Don't bring them up. I'm surprised they're doing this. I'm surprised the Orioles are doing this well.
Yeah, exactly. Again, but it always seems like when the Orioles go up against, the Yankees, it's just, the Yankees just seem to have their way with Baltimore, just as Tampa seems to have their way with the Yankees. So it's just, that's just an interesting division. And speaking of that division, you have the Toronto Blue Jays hosting the Philadelphia Phillies this weekend in Dunedin. This is the last series Toronto will play in Dunedin as they go and they venture back north to Buffalo. Hopefully, maybe before the end of the summer, they'll be able to get farther north and go into Toronto, but that remains to be seen. But as it stands now, this will be the last home series that they have to play in Florida, so they'll be able to go north here to Buffalo. But for this weekend series, obviously the Phillies have won a game, Toronto's won a game. But to me, the big story, and one of the big stories, and there are a couple with the Phillies that I dive into, is Aaron Nola. And, I've dived into a couple of his stats, and his road ERA versus his home ERA, as far as winning on the road versus winning at home. He's definitely been a better pitcher winning at home versus winning on the road. I just don't think he can be that big of an ace if you can't win on the road, versus winning at home. So you've got to win some of these road games, and we haven't seen Aaron Nola step up and be that guy, be that ace to win on the road, and that hurts the Phillies because they're basically a 500 team right now. They're winning a lot of games at home, but then they're not exactly been a very good road team. So I put this question to the coaches: mentally, how do you get a team, if you're Joe Girardi, to play better on the road versus playing better at home?
Well, one thing I'm going to ask though is he hurt somehow? Is something bugging him? You know what I mean? That's throwing him off as well too. Like, is there something that's bugging him in that aspect there too? So you're going to look first at mechanics, right? Is there something bugging you? Next, you got to kind of say, look, great, you're a good home, but you're right. We got to win on the road, and we need to win big time here. Now you got to get everybody to step up as well too. And I think that's another key factor is understanding, it's no different than, say, in hockey or any other sport like that, is when you're playing on the road, you know what I mean? Your goaltender is playing not bad, but you need that defense in front of you to step up, take the block shots, do something else. I think in this case, too, the Phillies need to do that with their guys on the road a little bit more, too. They need a little bit more hitting. They need a little bit more from everybody to make things happen. And I think once you get that flow and understand that, they have that mentality then to say, okay, you know what? We know what we need to do. We know what's going on and stuff. They feel better about it. They're more confident in what they got to do as their job. But like I said, right now, though, you got to look at yourself and say, look at this. There's something lingering that's bugging me, the mechanics, whatever it is, and let's get this fixed before we get too far down. Because like you said, you're only half a game back as it stands right now in some ways, but you should be up there a little bit more because your job relies on this. You have a responsibility on that road to do something. So, yeah, it's great to be up, but you got to be that guy that can also do things on the road too.
And Michael Nibia, we talk about teams playing, we have the Phillies playing Toronto. Well, the Mets are playing Tampa. And, Tampa had their way yesterday with the Mets, obviously snapping their 7-game winning streak. that they were on. Very impressive streak there for for any team coming up this season. It seems like every team around baseball is sort of battling around 500. But here are the New York Mets right now. You know, they're in whatever position you want to say right now in the East, because the East is what it is right now. Atlanta hasn't really gotten going. Certainly Washington hasn't gotten Strasburg healthy yet, and certainly Miami as well. Miami. So here are the New York Mets. They're sitting right there in first place. What are your thoughts right here this week as you take the temperature of the New York Mets?
They just haven't been playing up to snuff as far as their bullpen is concerned. Every time they get a lead, the bullpen blows it. And yesterday, it was a bullpen game. Yep. And guess what? The bullpen blew a lead. So they need to shore up their bullpen and do not use Joey Lucchesi.
I don't see how they can continue to bring him out of that bullpen. Yeah, they keep bringing him out.
He's got an ERA over 9.
Yes.
Just don't use him. And you wonder why I've been staying away from him in fantasy. It's because he's erratic. Okay? He is absolutely erratic.
But then if you don't go to him, who would you like to see them go to rather than go to him when you look at that bullpen? Because I think a lot of that Met bullpen has been sort of spotty, hit or miss.
They've been spotty, yes, aside from Castro, who's been very consistent, and Familia, who's been trying to get back into 2015 form. He's not there yet, but he's getting there. And Edwin Diaz, who seems to have figured it out since he has worked with DeGrom and Syndergaard. So
the question I have is, how much confidence do you have right now in him at this point? As a close, do you have confidence in him when he comes out of that bullpen that he's going to nail the save?
That he's going to nail it down. Well, he does not scare me as much as, say, Giselman scares me, or Familia used to scare me. But Lucchesi, oh my God.
Nice.
That imbecile scares me the most.
And obviously you look at the Met offense, on the other side of the coin, and you start to say, okay, when are we, going to see this offense really step up and really kick it into gear, on a consistent basis? A lot of it, I use that word consistent because that's been what it is. It just seems like a number of these players on the Mets have gone up, they've gone down. It's just been that kind of an early season as we approach Memorial Day. The fact that we've had this kind of up and down thing going on here.
Yeah, and the Mets just fired their hitting coach, Chili Davis. They replaced him with a guy whose name escapes me, who used to head the development staff for the Mariners. Good hire for the Mets. And with this new hitting coach, I think they'll be able to right the ship in terms of their offense.
With that, we've got to obviously talk about one of the stories that has gone around in baseball, especially yesterday, was Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols last week was obviously released from the Angels. The Angels obviously has a couple of players that they wanted to get into the lineup. Albert Pujols wasn't producing to their expectations, so they decided to part ways with the future Hall of Famer. Shane, he ends up going to the Dodgers, which is an interesting.
Everybody goes to the Dodgers.
It's an interesting place.
Somehow everyone goes to the Dodgers. At least he doesn't have to go far
to go to. Because a lot of people were thinking, okay, he's just going to reunite. He's going to go to, St. Louis. Okay, he's going to reunite there. And he ends up in L.A. So here we go with Albert Pujols with the Dodgers. Like the Dodgers need any more firepower, Shane.
Yeah. Well, just put
Again,
another
at least
ring
he doesn't
on
have to
that,
go far.
finger. Okay, you got to put another ring on the finger is what it comes down to, and everything. But no, like I said, I mean, hey, you know what? Something was offered that he couldn't resist, and that's all it comes is opportunity to, you know, look at another championship in some ways, right? That's kind of what you're looking at, and I mean, really, it's not a no brainer in many ways. And as much as you think, well, okay, go to St. Louis or whatever else. You know, it's right there. And I do think you're right when it says he's not very far when you are in California. He likes it there. He's happy. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if he actually went to the Padres too, though. You know what I mean? So I just think that's another big thing that you got to look at is when they're happy where they are in that living style and everything like that. They don't necessarily want to change it in many ways if they don't have to, and they still go to a team that they think is going to get them somewhere.
Do you think, Shane, that this lights a fire under Pujols having been released and saying, you know, look, I still got something left in the tanker. I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to come out here with the Dodgers, and I'm going to show everybody that, you know, I still got some of these skills left in the tank here, and I'm not totally done at this point.
Big time. It does for everybody. It does for everybody that gets released or, you know, told to, you know, we're done with your uses right now and stuff like that. It puts a fire under you. Of course it does. You know what I mean? You got something to prove. You're in the story. You're done. You got something to prove, and you're waiting for that opportunity to say, you threw me out. Well, guess what I just did? And then you walk around, you got the big shiny ring on your finger after too. So like I said, there's another thing that plays with this, and that's what these guys look at. So yeah, I think it's great for the Dodgers. That's for sure.
Do you think this was kind of, and we didn't get into this last week, so we'll get into this a little bit now. Do you think the Angels were correct in sort of releasing him? Because if you look at the last, 10 years, he obviously did not live up to the contract that he signed out there. It was a huge contract he signed. Obviously, there was a number of teams that, consider themselves fortunate that they didn't sign Pujols to that Pujols didn't accept it because, again, the Cardinals did put out a deal to Pujols back in the day to re-sign him and to keep him in St. Louis, but he decided to go out and take Artie Moreno's money out there with the Angels, and he certainly did. But in this case, from my standpoint, I'll just give my opinion right off the bat here. I think the Angels were right in doing what they did because he just wasn't living up to his numbers. Just have been in decline for several years. He hadn't been the outpost. He's had several injuries. We know about the foot injuries and so forth that he's been dealing with. The Panettiere that he's dealt with throughout the last several years, and the fact that his numbers just have not been there, and they've had other guys that have come up that need to be in the lineup, especially some of those younger guys that need to take that have taken some of the at bat that need to be in that lineup on an everyday basis. So it comes to the fact that here you have this Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, but at the same time, it was the point where, okay, we've got to campaign, we got to move forward here without this player. And I think, look, there's a message for a lot of these teams that have signed a lot of these guys to these long-term deals that are going out there that, look, is it going to pay off, for a lot of these teams going forward? The Mets, obviously, they're banking, and I would put this to Mike Nibbia. The Mets obviously put a lot of stock, into their shortstop for many, many, many years. And you wonder, if that's gonna pay off for them, in the long run or whether. Because I know your answer. I want to just get it on the record because I know you're not a fan, Mike, of these long-term deals at all.
Never have been, never will be. I've never been a fan of these mega deals. Never will be a fan of these mega deals. Why are teams still issuing these mega deals? It's all about the front end of these mega deals where the players perform. In the back end, you see the players on the wrong end of 30, their production starts to decline, and it just doesn't pan out in the back end. So why are teams still issuing these 8, 10, in some cases, 12 or 13-year mega deals worth $250, $300 million when they won't get any performance in the back end. It's not right. MLB, Players Association, you gotta do something about this. You gotta curtail the mega deals. NHL did when they said, nope, Devils, you can't do this 17-year deal with Ilya Kovalchuk.
And if you look at Francisco Lindor, he had some issues, obviously, in Cleveland at the end there, and the Mets jumped, on Lindor, and now they have to obviously live with the production that they get, out of this guy. Hopefully, this guy comes back and it's like gangbusters because he is Mr. Met right now out there. He is going to be the guy out there. I know DeGrom really Mr. Met, but Lindor is really Mr. Met on offense for them, and they're going to need this guy to put up those big numbers that
he's known for.
That he's known for, exactly. So the money, again, the contract that Lindor signed, we're going to see whether or not that that contract becomes a burden, obviously, to the Mets, even though they truly had to do it because when they made the deal for him. So, they've got to go out there along with Carrasco, obviously, but they've got to go out there and they've got to make the deal. They had to go out and they had to make the deal for Lindor, and they certainly, obviously paid the deal. We'll just have to see if it turns into more of a Pujols type thing or whether it turns into...
Or if it turns into a Lamoriello heist.
A Lamoriello heist, yes. So that's going to be interesting.
Lamoriello was famous for pulling off these heists.
Yes. So we'll see what happens there. Before we leave,
Jeff.
Jay is back.
Yep.
So Jay, your comments.
Well, here's the thing. I want to end the show a little bit hot here.
Yeah,
I have some questions to throw at you here and to throw at our audience here. And feel free to type in your comments here on our social media pages. But here we go. Scott Kingery, are you concerned about him? Is he approaching Dom Brown territory at this point? Because we see him promoted a couple of times to the major league roster. He is struggling mightily at the plate. Under 100 is what he's batting. Strikes out a ton. Do you think he is approaching now Dom Brown territory?
Well, I don't think he's that right now. I think he's kind of lost at the plate. And I think they have I don't think he's made adjustments, quite frankly, to what teams are throwing at him. Pitchers obviously made adjustments to him. He obviously started out kind of well in his career, but he hasn't made the adjustments yet. I'm more concerned, if you want to know my honest opinion, I'm more concerned about Alec Boehm right now as far as, his numbers because, he was known as a guy who was going to spread the ball around all the field, did 25, maybe 30 home runs. And if you look at his numbers, I think he's walked like 3, 4, 5 times, all year. He's not drawing the walks. He's striking out a ton. So to me, I think the bigger concern for the Phillies right now is Alec Boehm. To me is the bigger issue going forward. And then
no, I think I disagree with you because I think Alec Boehm, I think what has happened is Alec Boehm came up. He was extremely hot, getting hits, big hits, which I think he can still do. I just think that they're pitching him probably a little bit differently. So it's that cat and mouse game where the other teams, the other pitchers have adjusted to Alex Boehm and are probably pitching him a little bit differently. And I think it's up to him to adjust. I think his swing is, it's just up to him to kind of adjust to what he's being pitched. And I think he's intelligent enough and talented enough to do that. I just think that's what it is with Alex Boehm. But I'm more concerned with Kingery because you look at the contract the Phillies gave him, that huge amount, multi-year deal that you guys were just talking about before
another mega deal.
Yeah, before you even played in a major league game, the former GM gave him this huge contract. Everybody was all hyped about Scott Kingery, that he can play multiple positions, but he was going to be this second baseman of the future, and that contract is now turning out to be an albatross on the Phillies because even if they wanted to move Kingery, because they have Nick Maton who's come up and has started hitting well, they can't move him because who's going to trade for a hitter hitting under 100 who's striking out a ton, who's basically a defensive guy? You know, I mean, Kingery has to figure something out. And unfortunately, being where he is on the Phillies, being the last man on the bench, so to speak, not playing every day, he's finding it tough to get at bats. And the only way you can get out of this funk that I attribute to Gabe Kapler and staff for their analytics and altering his swing. The only way you can do that
Of course, you blame the previous regime.
Yes, of course.
Well, I mean, you look at the first baseman on the Phillies, and they altered his swing as well. It was like, okay, you got to hit home runs, you got to have that uppercut swing. And now that he's got his swing back, yes, he's always been streaky, but now that he's got his swing back, he's doing a lot better. And Kingery's just not been able to find that swing that he came up with. So the only way you can do that is to get at bats in games. I mean, you can take extra batting practice, you can practice on the side, but that's not a game situation. That's not going up against major league pitching. And that's what he needs to do. So he needs to go down to AAA and get regular at bats, work on his swing. And
I think Kingery J is Kingery. I think that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Alec Bohm to me is more of the issue. I disagree with you because Bohm to me, he's not saved by his. If you could say that he was saved by his defense, okay, that'd be one thing. He is atrocious in the field. He is simply atrocious. I mean, last night being an example, I mean, he had throws. Yeah. He's simply atrocious in the field. So his defense isn't saving him. So, he's not hitting well. And the fact of the matter is you can say, that pitchers are made outside, sure. But, this is a guy who was brought up that was supposed to be, one of the big players. I mean, he was supposed to be, a bright star. He's supposed to be one of the big players. Whether or not that's out, we'll wait and see. But to me, his defense is atrocious over there at third. Walk rate is. I mean, if you look at his now, again, I know that walks or strikeouts, everybody is that way, but his is so obscene. It's crazy at this point. So he's basically not. To me, this is a guy that you really have to that you really want to focus on because if you go down the pecking order of the hitters in the Philly lineup, he's got to be one of the top 4 or 5 hitters in that lineup that you got to fear. And right now, I'm not fearing Alec Bohm for nothing in the lineup. So especially now, you look at Harper and Real Muto having some injuries and being banged up a little bit. There's concern there a little bit, but I agree with you in the fact that if you steer the conversation towards a contract and you steer it towards that, absolutely. The Phillies the Phillies made a commitment to Scott, and that's just not paying off in any way, shape, or form. But they've got other guys right now that are taking playing time away from him. And deservedly so, because right now, he's just not being able to put the bat on the ball at this point.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, Jeff, are you buying into the recent Vince Velasquez resurgence?
No.
Given the Phillies some decent outings recently, can he be that? Are the Phillies 4 starters deep?
No, I don't think they're even 3 starters deep. I mean, what are you talking about? 4 starters deep.
No, I think they are 3 starters deep. I just got
off talking about Aaron Nola and the fact that Aaron Nola right here has a problem on the road, and you can't be a legitimate starting pitcher if you're not able to win big games on the road. I mean,
part of that is the Philly offense too, and the Philly defense.
No. Don't put on that. Look at his ERA, road ERA versus home ERA. There is a big discrepancy there between the two. I am more than concerned about somebody when you needed a win.
No.
Look, when you needed a win in Atlanta, coming off of that bad loss you had in Atlanta on this road trip, Aaron Nola wasn't there. He gave up a couple of runs in that first inning in Atlanta, and away the Atlanta Braves win in that game. Again last night.
Last night he was decent. The Phillies should have won last night. That's not on Nola. That's on the Philly offense.
But overall, his ERA has not been.
I have no.
The last couple of years, his road ERA has been nothing to write home about.
That's fine.
That is a big concern going forward. Is what Aaron Nola produces on the road. Am I buying into Vince Velasquez? No, I am not. No.
Neither am I. I think they're handling him in the right way. I think that dangling that you may be out the next start, I think that's a good way of handling Vince Velasquez because he seems to be pitching better. But no, I'm not buying into Vince Velasquez just yet. He has to keep rolling for me to buy into him. Absolutely. That's just the way I feel about it. But I think he has been doing better. And, for right now, looking at what he's given them, you can't ask for much more out of your fourth or fifth starter because all you want out of that guy is to get you 5-6 innings, and that's what he's giving, and keep you in the game, and that's what he's giving you. That's really what he's giving you. And you look at the Philly lineup today, you don't have as of today, Sunday, you don't have Bryce Harper. You don't have JT Realmuto in the lineup. He's battling an injury. You don't have Segura in the lineup. He's battling an elbow injury. I mean, the Phillies offense is – and you have McCutchen DHing because he has a hip. So the Philly offense right now is really banged up, and they have to lean on their pitching to keep the game close and to give their offense a chance to eke out a couple of runs because you don't know what you're going to get.
This team does not, and I know it's a theme around baseball, but the Phillies don't really, manufacture all the runs. They just sit around waiting for the home run. I mean, that's how they approach it. So, they're not a team that's going to, hit. This offense is kind of limited in the fact that they're always kind of swinging for the home run. I know that's around baseball, and it's prevalent around baseball. I know that with the analytics and so forth. But for the Phillies in particular, they just this offense and we've seen it the last couple of years with this offense. They just sit around kind of waiting for the home run to pop the home run, and they don't kind of manufacture runs, the way that you would like to see a team do. And I think that's one of the issues with the Philly offense. But this team is about, as they are, about a 500 team. I mean, that's what this team is at this point.
We'll see. I think their potential is to be better than that. I think they're a better than 500 team. I think they will be competing with the New York Mets for the division. That's what it looks like. You look at this division, and it looks like the Nationals are fading. The Marlins are fading. So it looks like, the Braves are just kind of hanging in there. But it looks like this could be a two-team race between the Phillies and the Mets all season. And they just have to get their offense back. And figure
this
out.
pitching staff, to me, I mean, look, I don't think you're going to win if you don't have a strike, you don't have an ace, and I consider Aaron Nola to be that guy, unless you want to crown Wheeler the ace.
What about Zach Wheeler and Zach?
If you want to consider Wheeler the ace, that's fine. But to me, I think you got to have Aaron Nola pitching better on the road. I mean, that's the problem is the Phillies are not.
He kept them in the game yesterday.
The Phillies are not. The Phillies are not a very good road team. That's one of the problems for the Phillies.
But that's not on Aaron. That's not necessarily on Aaron Nola.
No, but it's one of the issues that the Phillies have is the fact that Aaron Nola's record and Aaron Nola's ERA and so forth. He has not been that competitive on the road.
He was yesterday. He was yesterday.
Fine, he was yesterday, but look at his track record through the last year or two. I don't care about one game. Look at the fact of his track record the last few years and what his ERA has been on the road the last couple of years. You got to be able to win on the road. You got to be able to do it.
and he
I
hasn't
know.
been able to do that.
You can't just be a team that wins at home.
I grant you that, but that's not that's all Philly pitchers, Jeff. That's the Phillies' record. The team has not won on the road, not necessarily just one pitcher. The team.
But Aaron Nola is symbolic of that in the fact that he goes out there.
Okay, well, fine.
Can you tell me that wasn't a big game going out for Aaron Nola in Atlanta on this road trip, coming off of that bad loss in 10 innings and trying to nail down a win? Can you honestly tell me with a straight face that wasn't a big game?
How many? You tell me how many.
In the first, they got what, 3 or 4 runs in the first inning?
How many runs did they score in the game?
How many runs did I don't care. You put them right there, put them in a hole right
You
out
don't
the bat.
care.
Wait a minute. Metuchen in that game, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but Metuchen in that game hit a leadoff home run, if I'm not mistaken, on that Sunday night.
And that was it.
Metuchen home run, and then Nola gave it all back.
And that was it. Was it not? That was it.
But did Metuchen give Nola a lead in the game? In the top of the first inning, did Metuchen hit a leadoff home run?
And I ask you this: how many games do you see ending 1-0?
I don't care if it's 1-0.
You
go out there and
you're asking Aaron Nola. You're asking Aaron Nola.
3 or 4 runs, Orlando, right there in the bottom of the first. Give it all back.
You're asking Aaron Nola to give up 0 runs to win that game.
I'm asking him to give up maybe 2. If you're an ace, if you're somebody and you're coming off of that game on that Saturday night, you go out there and it's a good game.
What's a quality start, Jeff? 3 runs or less.
3 runs.
Exactly. 3 runs or less
in
for
6
innings.
And what did Aaron Nola do last night on the road? 3 runs or less.
Well, what has he done in the last couple of years on the road? What is his road ERA been? It has not been good.
But that's attributable to the entire team.
It's attributable to Aaron Nola. It's attributable to Nola. You gotta pitch well on the road.
So you're saying, what you're saying is no other Phillies pitcher loses on the road. They all win. They all give up 3 more. They all give up 3 runs or less, 2 runs or less on the road. That's what you're telling me.
I'm telling you, Jay, that if you're a pitcher and you want to be called an ace of the staff, you got to go out there and you got to find a way to win the game.
You got to put together
a string of quality starts.
You got to put together, Jay, a string of quality starts on the road, and Aaron Nola's not doing it.
I don't think Aaron Nola's not the problem. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you don't think Aaron Nola's a problem? You don't think Alex Boehm's a problem? You think that the problem is the guy who's sitting there at the end of the bench. That's what you think the problem is.
I will say right now.
The bench player sitting at the end of the bench is the biggest problem for the Phillies, and not like Aaron Nola.
Jeff, listen to me. I will say that right now Alex Boehm is in a slump. He's not hitting, but I have confidence that the hitting coach will get him out of the slump. I do not have the same confidence in Scott Kingery. That's what I'm saying. Scott Kingery can at least play defense. Alex Boehm struggles there. I give you that. So when Alex Boehm is not hitting, everything comes to the forefront with Alex Boehm. I will say that. But right now, with Harper out, Realmuto out, Segura out hurting, that's a problem because now you got to start, I will say Knapp has done relatively well, but you got to start playing more of these bench guys and you're going to be seeing more Kingery. Who knows if that's going to help them, but right now the Phillies are in a bad way offensively and they're not a very good defensive team. Their defensive lapses can come to the forefront as well.
And you're running this team as a playoff team? No,
I'm about ready to call Homer alert right now.
Yes, because if the team hits, they can win.
I am seriously about ready to call Homer alert on both Jay and Jeff.
I'm not. Hold on. I'm telling like
right now, I'm about to lose it.
Go ahead, Mike.
No. I got in trouble for losing my cool on the radio. I don't want to get in trouble now.
Oh, hold on. Anything else we got for the show? Or are we pretty much done?
The question is, did you want to talk about the horse race yesterday, Jeff?
Basically, I'm just happy that the horse didn't, Bafford's horse didn't win. So we don't have to worry about a Triple Crown. So so that's a good thing right there. So
Bafford is one of the most controversial owners in all of horse racing. He is shady. He is sketchy. I don't trust him.
He's a winningest trainer. He's a winningest trainer in the sport. So
but he's also controversial.
And he's a two-time Triple Crown winner. He has 2 horses that have won the Triple Crown, so you can't knock him too much.
I can't knock him too much, but after the Medina Spirit incident, I can't trust him.
I agree with Mike there. I'm glad that neither of Bafford's horses won yesterday, and another horse did, because I think that would have had Bafford's horse won yesterday. I think that would have added to the controversy, because now you're talking about a horse that is under investigation for illegal drugging, possibly winning the Triple Crown. So, yeah, I mean, we would have been talking about it a little more. Now you don't have that controversy looming over horse racing. So I want to congratulate the winner yesterday. But
Rumbauer, yep.
So I want to congratulate the winner. But yeah, you don't have that whatever sword of Damocles, if you will, hanging over
that black mark.
Well, Jay, he was tested. There was a lot of scrutiny. I mean, there was a deal. There was a deal made, and he was under tighter scrutiny. So Medina Spear was under tighter scrutiny, better testing. So. There was that's just the way it went there as far as the Preakness went.
Yeah.
So, Bafford, agreed to it. So, it is what it is. And, Rumbauer was just a better horse yesterday in the race. And, it's something that we don't have to, worry about or discuss at this point. So,
yep, exactly.
Yeah, we are not at liberty to discuss all of that.
Yeah.
If we were, I would have sent both Jay and Jeff to the back of the field like Chase Elliott is to Dover.
There you go.
Anything else?
Nope. I think I'm good.
Very good. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week on the Sports Go Radio Show presented by the Heat Ratio. It's been a great show, and we look forward to seeing you guys back here next week at 11 a.m. Have a great week, everybody.
We'll try to do better next week, y'all, you knuckleheads.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good night, Canada.
Yep, and I want to invite everybody to like, follow, and share us on our social media sites, both on the Heat Ratio and for Sports Skillet. Get the word out. We put the show on for you guys, and feel free to add your comments. So we'll see you guys again next week.
Stays right where Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline. Fade away.